because it's recording. So welcome everyone. I am Lisa Gubernick, the VP of Membership for NCJW. And thank you so much for joining us today for the first half of our two-part virtual event, Organize and Optimize. Never say you have nothing to wear. We're fortunate to have Nancy Litz here to guide us through our closets. Before we hand over the floor to Nancy, I just want to say a couple things regarding NCJW membership. We're entering our new fiscal year, July 1st. So members, remember to renew those memberships. And anyone who's interested in becoming a member, please let us know. You don't have to be a woman or Jewish to join NCJW. Welcome. We have numerous opportunities to get involved in our programs, such as the Back to School Store, Kids Community Closet, the Resale Shop, and advocacy initiatives that promote social and economic justice for women, children, and families, human trafficking, domestic violence, and voting rights. So I'm forming a membership committee. You can email me at lgpodo@aol.com, and we can help create these types of events together. So I'm going to just promo our next event, which will be Wednesday, July 30th. We just changed the date. It's called Coffee Talk, and it will be with me and Susan Katzman. So AKA, we're going to call it Linda and Ida's Coffee Talk. So gather together for our virtual coffee talk with a special guest and share some laughs and conversation. RSVP, look for those in an email link coming soon. And again, it's July 30th. It's called Coffee Talk, 8:30 to 9:30. It will be like butter. And without further ado, Nancy Litz is a veteran wardrobe consultant who works with private clients, blogs, and presents workshops across the country. Her book, Looking Good Every Day, was chosen as the textbook for training new wardrobe consultants by FIT in New York and by the Associations of Image Consultants International. Thank you, Nancy. You have the floor.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. It's so much fun to be doing this with all of you. I love the idea of these webinars as a way to bring us together. And I was more than happy to dive in and be the sort of guinea pig here. So I'm going to share my screen, and that means I won't be seeing all of you. You'll see one another, I believe, down a sidebar, but I won't. So if you have questions for me, look across the bottom of your screen and you'll see what looks like a little speech bubble, like in cartoons. And if you click on that, it will allow you to type questions in there. I'll address those in two ways. I'll either answer them now, or I'll get a print out of that at the end of the session and use those questions to help me guide the content for part 2 next week. So here we go with sharing the screen. I am getting a message that says the host disabled participant screen sharing. Guys, that means it's not seeing me as a co-host. Can we fix that, or?
It's fixed.
Okay. So I just try it again?
Yes, please.
Okie doke. Here we go. Oh, and I am seeing you. Let me see if I still do when I go to full screen. I do. I'm so excited. So one reason that we chose this topic for this month is that during the month of June, St. Louis Closet Company has chosen NCJW as the nonprofit that they are supporting with a percentage of all of their sales for the month. So if you go away thinking, oh my gosh, I need to redo the inside of my closet, well, this is by no means a sales pitch. Obviously, that's sort of around that. St. Louis Closet is your company and June is your month. So when we first started to realize the huge impact of the coronavirus on all of our lives, and and the tragedy that was unfolding, I felt a little bit guilty about what I do. I thought, you know, how can I even blog about wardrobes when people are dying? But after just a few weeks, my blog readers and my clients started reaching out and saying, oh my gosh, no, don't look at it that way. In very real ways,
Hey, Nancy, I'm so sorry to interrupt you. We're having some audio issues hearing you. You're breaking up, going in and out. We might need to do some troubleshooting on that.
Let me see if I don't think I have anything else open on my laptop, but let me see if I do.
You're coming through clear right now. I'm going to make sure everybody is muted on this right now, except for you and myself, and I'm going to mute myself really quick. But if you wanted to pick it up again, we lost you right around the St. Louis Closet Co.
Okay, one more thing I can close out, I think. Okay. Am I back? Can you hear me okay now?
Yep, and I'll let you know if you start cutting in and out.
Okay, I don't know any other tricks to fix it, but
I'll put positive energy in there.
That's good. If all 20 or so of us can think good thought out into the ozone. I was saying that St. Louis Closet Company is donating a portion of their sales for the entire month of June to NCJW. So certainly if there are any storage upgrades in your house that you're thinking of, St. Louis Closets would be your company and June would be your month to tackle that. Then I talked just a little bit about how initially in the pandemic situation, I felt like I should back off of talking to people about clothes and wardrobes. It felt really kind of superficial until so many women started telling me that feeling good about how they look was one way that they could maintain their own energy. It was an element of self-care that sort of fueled them for the kind of good work that we at NCJW do in our communities. So I'm happy to be diving back in and sort of pivoting my business to be able to work with people one-on-one in a virtual format and to do easily accessible classes like this. So let's start with a quick question. We talk about wardrobe. What does that mean anyway? And this is a time that would be great for some of you to unmute and literally tell us what would your perfect ideal wardrobe, how would that look, how would that be?
Nancy, can you please put your question in the chat? Or let me know what your question, I couldn't type it in there. The question did not come through.
Well, actually, it's the question on the screen.
There.
What is an optimized wardrobe to you as a participant? Crickets? Okay, well, then if you're all going to be bashful, I'll tell you my definition. To me, it's not just a bunch of stuff in drawers and hanging in your closet. It's really a carefully curated collection of garments and accessories, both categories count, each item of which is uniquely flattering to you. It showcases you, so people see you and not the thing you're wearing. And all those pieces work together in countless ways so that literally you could reach into your closet blindfolded, and no matter what you pulled out, you could have at least 3 different options of outfits to build around that and walk out the door feeling like a million. Do you want to raise your hand if you already have that? Yeah, that's sort of what I thought. That's about the same reaction I get in live workshops as well. So I want to show you just real quickly how possible that is. This is a client of mine, Cindy. And by the way, if the strip of people's faces down the side is covering that up for you, I think you can hover on it and drag and drop it to move it to a different spot. But this is Cindy's closet. There are exactly 25 pieces there. How many of us have more than 25 things hanging in our closet? Yeah, we all do, of course. And I will show you my closet later, and you'll know for sure that I know what I'm talking about on that one. But just those 25 pieces can mix and match into almost 400 different combinations for her, and not only make combinations, but make combinations that really showcase her and her unique beauty. So how are we going to get from wherever we are now to there? Well, I use, when I'm working with a private client and actually helping her go through her closet, I follow a 5-step process that is represented by the acronym FETCH. So the F is a really easy step. This is one I know every one of you could tackle this afternoon if you chose to. And that is to filter out the things that we know just don't belong there. They're soiled and stained and torn and frayed, things that we not only shouldn't have in our closet, but by the way, we also should not pass off to the resale store because they can't use them either. So I tell clients typically that you want to get rid of all of those things, except you want to hang on to just a couple of pieces to have something to wear when you get this wild idea that you're going to paint the basement wall or work in the garden and don't want to ruin your good clothes. And do not ask me how I know so much about that, having done it myself. The second easy edit for your closet, and let me back up just a second and say that we are so often, we really struggle with letting go of things in our closet. We feel like we need all of that stuff because we're not sure why, but we're pretty sure we can't get rid of it. I'm sure that you've heard the phrase that less is more. And while that's true in your closet, the reverse is also true, which is that literally more is less. Think about your inbox. Do you know when your inbox is just coming at you a mile a minute, you can't zero in on the things that you really need to respond to? The same thing's true in our closet. When there's too much in there, even if we have wonderful things, we usually can't find them in all the chaos. So we want to eliminate, we want to weed out those categories where we have lots of duplication. Now, there are 2 places that I typically see an absolute epidemic of that. And one of them is black pants. How many pairs of black pants can you wear at one time?
At least 3.
Yeah. How many pairs of black pants are in your closet? It's not unusual for me to visit someone's home and she has 8 pair, 10 pair, 12 pairs of black pants. And as she's going through, she's saying, now I don't really wear these because, and this is the better one, so I really don't wear it. Then why are they all hanging in there? So go through and weed that down to that and any other category where you have that sort of unnecessary duplication, and weed it down to what's a reasonable number for you. Now, next week, I'm going to argue that you may not need any black pants ever, but that's a bridge too far right now. So for now, we're just going to narrow down the selection. Another place that you're going to want to narrow down is white shirts. This is an example from one particular client's closet. Karen was her name. And you'll see, a dozen white t-shirts and a dozen black t-shirts. And she didn't wear either of those colors well either. So that's another really easy place to look at weeding out. white shirts are something that the fashion world tells us is an absolute must-have. Have you ever seen one of those must-have lists in a fashion magazine for any season of any year that didn't say you must have white button-down shirts? I'm going to ask you to potentially rethink that, and here's why. Do you see in this slide, we're looking at 6 different women with 6 different kinds of coloring. And you see that in 5 out of the 6, your eye simply does not go to the woman. All you're seeing is white shirts, right?
Yes.
But look at the bottom right where the shirt is now ivory, and do you see how much more easily your eye goes to that woman? Pretty amazing. That same thing, by the way, happens in prints, and I want to use myself as an example. When I originally got dressed this morning, I put on this little shirt. Cute enough shirt, but can you see how when I'm wearing it on screen, you never look at my face for a second? All your eye sees is those bright pops of white across that shirt. So we want to think really seriously about the validity of a whole ton of white in our wardrobes, no matter what the fashion industry tells us. I'm trying to think of a really nice way to say this, but the truth of the matter is, when it comes to advice about what to wear, the fashion industry writ large, retail overall, fashion magazines, whatever, really benefit when we don't feel good about what we're wearing. Because what do when we have a closet full of things that don't work? We go shopping, right? And I don't mean to make retail the enemy, but I do want to suggest that the messages that you're getting from retail may not always be the best guide of what's likely to really work for you. So let's take a look at Stephanie's original closet contents. One of the steps in my FETCH acronym, after we've filtered and after we've eliminated duplication, is then to take everything out of your closet. I love putting it on a rolling rack like this, but if you don't have one, you can spread it out on your bed or in any way have access to it, but take it out of your closet. And then we're going to shift our thought process and make it so much less traumatic to work on narrowing down our selection. Can you see how it feels pretty terrible for most women to take an item out of your closet or have me take it out for a client and say, now, does this stay or go? Immediately your brain goes to 52 reasons why you can't possibly get rid of it. Your mother-in-law gave it to you. It looked so cute on the mannequin. You haven't owned it for very long. I have people all the time tell me that an item that I've just held up is one of their favorites. They could never live without it. And I say, well, could you hand me the little scissor that's over on the counter? Because we better clip the tag off of it before the next time you wear it. Guess what's in operation there? So instead, we're going to get it all out, and now we're going to pretend that we have just walked into what I call a boutique. It's a boutique of all the things that are hanging in your closet, and now you're going to go shopping in that boutique and decide which of those items deserve to get bought again, if you will, and put back into the beginnings of your optimized wardrobe. Now, this group of garments was Stephanie's boutique when we took everything out and hung it up. And do you get a sense right away why she felt like she had nothing to wear? Because do you see how it's going in 86 different directions? It didn't have a unified theme to it. Now, here's another piece that's a little hard for us as women to wrap our head around. And that is that the unified theme that your closet should have is based on you. It's based on your characteristics. And the more of your characteristics a garment or an accessory repeats, the more fabulous it's going to look on you, the more fabulous you're going to look wearing it, and the more versatile it's going to be to work with all the other things that are also based on your personal characteristics. If we back up just a smidge to Stephanie again, can you see how all those clothes are visually relate not only to one another, but relate back to Stephanie's own characteristics? And that's what we're aiming for you. Again, we'll talk more next week about how to get there. I did want to point out that this is the rolling rack that I use. You do not by any means have to own one of these to do this process, but they are a terrific investment. They're good and sturdy. The top pops off, the side arms fold down, and the whole thing becomes about 4 inches tall, so you can slide it right under the bed or right under the sofa, and then pull it out when you're organizing your clothes for a trip, or when you need a place to put everyone's coats when they come over for a party after we're out of quarantine. Locally, the most cost-effective place to buy these usually is Store Supply, which is really a wholesaler for retail companies, and I'll include that in the materials that I'll send you afterwards. Now, after we had pulled out the things that we were keeping for Stephanie, we had this collection left, and you'll have a collection left that has that same sort of integrated feel, only based around your characteristics. And then when you're ready to start putting things back in your closet, you want to organize them by category and by color. Now, I don't get to decide what your categories are. You get to decide that. Some clients will choose to put all their tops together, and that's a category called tops. Other people want to split out sleeveless tops and short sleeves and long sleeves. That's fine. Some people want to split out, vests, for instance. Some people look as vests as an overlayer, and so they put them with jackets. Other people might wear a vest as a shell, so they put it with their tops. Within a pant category, some people put all their pants together. Some people do jeans and casual pants separately and dress pants separately. You decide the categories, but we want your closet to turn into a filing system. So the minute you think, I want my chocolate brown jeans, boom, I know exactly where they should be. That also helps tremendously with getting things hung back up after the laundry, or if you're going to wear it a second time. So you want to think of it as a filing system, and then within each category, you want to organize things in color order. I do my neutrals first, light to dark or dark to light, and then colors in rainbow order: red, orange, yellow, green, blue, and purple. I always encourage people to hang everything. And there's such a tendency to think, well, if I fold things and I'll stack them on these neat shelves that I had built in, or I'll put them in a drawer or whatever. How many of you find that at the end of the season, when you rotate your wardrobe, the things that were in a drawer never got worn? Do you find that? And conversely, when you have things like we'll work with a client who has her sweater, her t-shirts, solid color t-shirts, stacked one on top of another on a shelf. Which one are you going to want? It's going to be the one in the middle. And then what happens to your neat, tidy pile? It's chaos. So hang everything that you possibly can. Now, you don't have to have real fancy hangers, but what you don't want are those metal ones that come back from the dry cleaners. They get all tangled up and they don't support your clothes well, so things get all out of shape. You can recycle them, and that's the responsible thing to do, but it's well worth the investment to buy a little bit better hangers. Even if you just buy those tubular plastic ones that you can get at Target for, 12 for $1, it's better than the ones from the dry cleaners. But I really like the ones that you see on top on this slide, the flat plastic with the swivel heads. I like them because they have the little grooves to catch narrow shoulders or hold straps. I like them because the head swivels, so it makes it really easy to get all the garments in my closet facing the same direction. If it's something that tends to slip and slide, then the flocked hangers that you see in the middle are a great option. And for pants, I like the Z-shaped ones that make it really easy to slide your pants off and on to hang them. But the more you can get everything hanging, the more readily you're going to see it and the more you're going to wear it. Now, typically the very next question I get after I have said that is, well, what about my sweaters? They're going to get all stretched out in the shoulders. Honestly, if it's a lightweight sweater, even a long sleeve lightweight sweater, a flocked hanger will keep it in place just fine and not stretch out your shoulders. But if it's overly weighty and you want another way to handle that, I love the trick that you're seeing with that green sweater on your screen now. I did not invent this. I read it in an old Hints from Heloise column, which is telling you my age right there, that I even know what Hints from Heloise was. But it works this way. You take your sweater and you're working on a flat surface, probably your bed, and you fold the sweater in half lengthwise. So it's folded down the center front and center back, and the sleeves are resting one on top of the other. That gives you 4 layers of fabric in the body area of the sweater and 4 layers of fabric on the sleeve. And then you're going to position your hanger in this quirky, crazy way where the hook is coming up out of the V where the side seams and the underarm seams meet. Are you with me? Okay. And then you're going to fold the body part of the sweater down over the arm of the hanger. And then you're going to fold the sleeve portion down over the other arm of the hanger, and it will stay there. The fabric will cling to itself and it will stay there perfectly. And now when you hang it in its position by what kind of garment it is and what color it is, the fabric and color will still show along the shoulder lines of all the garments, so you won't forget that it's there and you'll still be able to wear it. Now, for somebody who does what I do, I am really sort of the laziest, most slapdash person ever. I'm always looking for a faster, easier way, whatever. And I wear a lot of duster sweaters that are too long to hang with that green sweater method. So the little trick is simply to slide the hook of the hanger between the garment label, which is just tacked in the 2 corners, and the actual fabric, and that also will then support the weight of the sweater and keep it from letting your shoulders stretch out. After we've made the choices, the decisions that we'll talk about next week, and we're ready to put things back into your closet, how many of you, quick show of hands, how many of you have at least part of your closet that's double hung with a lower rod and an upper rod? Yes, some of you. And if you do, I am betting that you do the same thing that I always did. It seems so logical to put my bottom garments on the bottom and my top garments on the top, right? Well, I thought so too, until I worked with a friend who is a closet organizer, not in terms of the contents, but just in terms of the functionality of the space. And she pointed out to me that almost every closet is lighted from above with a ceiling light, right? Almost in every case, your top garments are on hangers that protrude further from the back wall, right? So if you hang the tops on top, the light comes from above. Now everything you have on that bottom row, all your pants and skirts, are in the shadows. You can't tell the black ones from the dark brown ones from the navy blue ones. And again, don't ask me how I know about that mistake. And it's just really inefficient. What she showed me to do and what you're seeing here, this is my own closet. I reversed it and put my bottom garments on top and my tops on the bottom. And can you see how visible all those shoulder lines are across the bottom of that photo? Another thing I want you to notice about this photo is that there are an awful lot more top garments than there are bottom garments. We'll talk again more in detail about that next week, but if you think about it, how many of you are dying for the first thing that people notice about you to be your body from the waist down? Not usually. We'd rather have people not paying quite so much attention to the caboose and a little more attention up here on the headlights. So you want to keep your bottom garments pretty neutral, pretty basic for the most part, and have the variety and the fun and the interest be in the things that you're going to be wearing on top, and a good reason then why you would own more bottom garments than top garments to start with. Again, we'll talk more about the decision process of that later. I also should do a quick disclaimer that while I don't remotely suggest that all of us should live with just 25 garments like you saw in that slide of Stephanie's capsule wardrobe, I am pretty strongly an advocate for some degree of minimalism. I think we all have way too many clothes. And that's the one place where I don't follow my own good advice. I live and breathe by everything else that I teach. But I do have way too many clothes. My excuse is that I not only use them for my own wardrobe, but I use them week in and week out for blog post photography and for workshop examples and whatever. So think of it as my work product and now not as an excessive closet, if you would be kind enough to do that. Now, certainly if you are in a position to have St. Louis Closets come in and redesign your whole storage space, wonderful. I am thrilled for you. However, if you'd rather find some sort of budget for friendly interim steps, these are just a few of my personal favorites. Some of them are things that I do, and some of them are photos that I've snapped in the closets of various clients that I've worked with. So let's start at the top left. I personally, and maybe you too, use an awful lot of little tanks and camisoles as layering pieces in my wardrobe. I love doing that because let's say I'm wearing a button up the front shirt. If I put a tank or a cam underneath it, I can unbutton that shirt, and that slightly gapped edge gives me this wonderful vertical emphasis that makes me look taller and thinner. Maybe some of you don't want that. Maybe some of you would like to look shorter and more filled out, in which case just do the opposite of everything you will ever hear me say, because at 5'3" and a little on the chunky side, I get a little obsessive about taller. Anyway, if you have those tanks and camis, you know that if you try to hang them on a hanger, the hangers really tend to get tangled up. So I have found that cup hooks along a door frame or a shelf edge are a wonderful way to keep those organized. The next picture moving across the top, you'll recognize as the kind of lighting that we used to have down the sides of our bathroom mirrors. How many of you can remember those days? Well, this particular client, when she redid her bathroom, realized that she had terrible lighting in her walk-in closet. So it was such an easy fix. She didn't even need an electrician. You just turn off the power first. And please, if you need to hire an electrician for this, I'm not trying to guilt you out of that. But she just took down the fixture that was in her closet and put this one up instead. And can you see how it's giving her literally 8 times as much lighting to see what's what in her closet? If you're not ready for a change that big, in my own closet at one point, I had a globe fixture with a frosted cover, and I just took off the frosted cover, and it didn't look as cute, but it literally doubled my lighting in just a nanosecond. Top right is an office divider for letters or file folders or whatever, perfect for holding purses and keeping those in place. Down the right-hand side, you'll see a panel of 4-inch grid panel. This is another thing that you can purchase at that store supply place. And if you have that door or your closet to mount it, oh my gosh, it's a wonderful way to organize necklaces, scarves, belts, and those things just as much as your clothes, you're not as likely to wear if you don't see them. Starting across the bottom row, I'm a huge, huge fan of scarves. And a lot of times people tell me that they're just not a scarf person. I almost always find that that's because they haven't yet learned how to tie them. So if you are a scarf enthusiast, you probably keep them in a drawer and then you never see them and then you never wear them. So the first picture on the left as you're looking at it is one of those perforated flanges specifically designed for scarves. Those are great, except that I would never use anything except the top row of those holes, because anything that you put through one of the bottom ones, you'll never see because it's covered by all the ones that are on the top. An easier, more accessible way is to use one of the tubular hangers. And the 3 scarves in this picture represent the steps that I use to put a scarf onto one of these. You'll see that that little one on the left-hand side, that's a small square, and I folded it in half and then rolled it from the point to the fold. So now it's just making a long tube. And then I've folded it in half at the midpoint, and I've brought that midpoint behind the bar of the hanger and right now just stick it down in the air. Step 2, you'll see in the middle scarf, I've taken that loop and now folded it back down. So the loop is on one side of the bar, the 2 tails are on the other side of the bar. And then you simply bring the tails through the loop. That's what you'll see in the 3rd illustration. And now it's just going to stay right there. It's not going to slip off. It's not going to go anywhere. But when you're ready to wear it, you simply put your finger into the loop. The way you're looking at it, that loop is on the back side in this picture. You slip the loop, pull straight down, and it comes off that fast. And then the last one is one of my millennial clients who uses this little mesh pencil cup that she had left over from college days to organize all of her earrings. The wire of the earrings just hooks right into that mesh. It's amazing what you learn if you spend enough time hanging out in other people's closets. Let me get out of share screen mode so I can see. I think, how do I do that? How do I do that?
I did it for you.
Oh, okay, thanks. Because I wanted to be able to see about questions. And so Gail said she's a winter person, no beige. Ivory, honestly, trust me. Although I will also tell you that the one category of women who do nicely in white shirts are women who have nearly white, bright silver hair, for sure. Somebody asked about sharing the slides. No, but I'll share all the resources and whatever. And we're also recording this so that if you need to see it later, you can. As far as the audio problem, I made my husband leave so we didn't have more computers drawing power, and I've powered off everything else that I can. So I'm kind of stuck on that one. If you want to unmute and you have other questions, I would be happy to try to answer them.
So I'm kind of curious, how do you know what colors are good for you, like for your skin complexion, for your hair color?
Lauren, I couldn't have done a better promo for next week. If I had paid you 50 cents to ask that question.
I could help.
There are lots of characteristics of our clothes that need to be right. But if you could only ever pick one, it would have to be the relationship of the colors you're wearing to the colors that you are. I'm sure many of you know Heather Silverman, who's part of the NCJW staff, and she and I did some color work together when she was running for office. And she told me later that when she was going door to door talking to her prospective constituents, that she absolutely could see a discernible, measurable difference in how they responded to her when she was wearing the colors that we had developed for her, as opposed to anything else that she would, which is when a politician shows up at our door, right? She said people would invite her in, they would give her something cold to drink, they would talk about their concerns in the community, that it made that much difference. So it makes us look cuter, but it also really shifts how people respond to us. And I can't in a workshop obviously do a full color consultation for each person, but I'll give you some guidelines to steer you in the right direction on your own next week. What else is a question? Somebody just said my comments about Heather kind of broke up. I'm sorry. I bet maybe it'll be clear.
Hey, Nancy.
Yes.
I'm getting the feedback now. The slower that you speak, the less likely it gets broken up. I think it's part of our internet speed too, as hosting the Zoom, and there's a lot of meetings going on here as well. So I know that you're a quick talker. You got a lot to say in a little bit of time, but I think that's affecting it just a little bit.
Okay, I'll try. That is not easy, but I will do my best.
But essentially what you were saying about Heather is that she got elected because you dressed her.
Well, more or less. She actually told me the morning after that she felt like it had been a critical factor.
Yeah.
But her own awesomeness no doubt played into it at least a little.
I think there was one more question from Jean. Do you follow Color Me Beautiful theory?
In very broad strokes, yes. Color Me Beautiful was written, oh my gosh, probably 40 years ago. And in the intervening time, we've learned an awful lot more nuance about what colors work best on people. So although the color work that I do is related to that, it really says that it's not realistic to say that we could take all the different ways that women's coloring can be and put it into 4 compartments. So we look at each person as an individual and say exactly what colors are going to be the best on you. To understand that too, you need to understand that that if you're not a professional in this field, we tend to think of pretty much the 8 crayon box, like red is fire trucks and apples, and not everything from burgundy to deep rust to peach to pink, you know, all the literally thousands of variations within each color name. Almost everybody can wear almost every color family just fine. That yellow into orange into lime green area gets a little challenging for some people. But with that disclaimer, almost everybody can wear almost every color family. It's a question of which color within, which narrow range within that color family are going to be the ones that really light you up. Okay. And then I think I saw Diana say, what if the colors that you like aren't the colors that look best on you? And when I'm working with a client, every once in a while, somebody will say, oh, but I don't like these colors. And I say, okay, start with a couple of t-shirts in those colors, wear them for 2 days, and then call me. And every time they're like, oh my God, it was amazing. People were falling all over themselves for 14 straight days telling me how fabulous I looked. And nobody said that they liked the color I was wearing. They said, oh, they said things like, have you lost weight? Oh my gosh, you look so happy. I had one client who supervised a large staff in a medical facility, and she discovered after we had been working together, I'm sorry, I'm talking fast again. After we had been working together for a while, that there was a big rumor going around at her workplace that she was having an affair because she suddenly looked so good. And so it makes a difference. People notice, and it's amazing how quickly you can start to really love colors that give you that response. I think we're conditioned by retail, by fashion, by whatever, to really go for super bright colors. And so for instance, bright yellow is a problematic color for lots of people. So I always say, well, okay, plant yellow flowers, sew yellow throw pillows, dye your underwear yellow if you need to. Just don't wear it up here next to your face if it's not a good choice for you. Did that help, Diana? Great.
Yes, thank you.
I'm going to turn it back to Lisa.
Thank you everyone again for joining us, and hopefully we will see you next week. And look for any information. Hopefully we'll be coming out with that soon for our ongoing virtual sessions from NCJW. Thank you, Nancy, and thank you, Jessa. We appreciate it.
Appreciate y'all.
Have a good day, everyone. See you next week.